In the modern world, many of us are constantly seeking ways to improve our lives and relationships by reading self-help books and repeating affirmations about self-love. However, there exists a more profound level of self-understanding discovered by the great psychologist Carl Jung. This fundamental discovery can completely alter how we interact with ourselves and those around us. Transforming our perception of relationships and ourselves at a deeper level, it is important to understand that our relationships with others are never random. Everything that attracts or repels us in other people is a reflection of our own unresolved internal issues and conflicts that demand our attention and processing. When we meet someone who evokes strong emotions in us, whether it be admiration or irritation, it always speaks more about us than about the other person. This is a unique psychological compass pointing to areas of our personality requiring development or healing. For example, when we admire someone, it often indicates qualities we would like to develop in ourselves but do not yet dare, possibly due to fear or insecurity in our own abilities. When someone causes irritation or anger, it may signify that we are denying similar qualities in ourselves, unwilling to acknowledge their existence in our personality. Imagine a situation where you are annoyed by bossiness in someone. Most likely it means that you yourself are suppressing your natural confidence, possibly due to past traumatic experiences or beliefs acquired in childhood. For example, if you are particularly drawn to creative personalities, your own creative potential may require development and recognition, but you have not yet found a way to give it full expression in your life. When someone's excessive emotionality infuriates you, consider whether you are forbidding yourself from expressing emotions for fear of appearing weak or vulnerable. Working on self-discovery requires absolute honesty and willingness to see the parts of yourself that we usually prefer to hide from ourselves and others. This may be uncomfortable and even painful, but this deep work is necessary for real, fundamental changes in life and building healthy relationships. It is very important to understand that we cannot establish truly fulfilling, healthy relationships with other people as long as our unaccepted parts are constantly projected onto those around us. To begin the process of transformation, start keeping a detailed diary of your reactions to others, carefully analyzing recurring patterns in your relationships. Post. We admire in others integrating them into our personality. When you begin to integrate previously rejected qualities, your relationships with those around you will naturally become healthier and more harmonious, filled with new meaning and depth. You will stop attracting toxic relationships into your life. Recognize and accept yourself in the fullness of your being. Remember, true, deep love becomes possible only when we fully accept ourselves, including all our so-called dark sides and imperfections. This is not just a pretty word or theory, it's a practical way to transform your whole life, requiring constant work on yourself and the courage to face your own shadows. Relationships become a mirror in which we can see our true selves and begin the path to genuine wholeness. Accepting all aspects of one's personality, such deep self-knowledge allows us to build sincere, healthy relationships based on genuine love and mutual respect, not on fear, dependence, or attempts to fill voids through others. Each person we encounter on our path is a teacher, helping us better understand ourselves and our deep needs. Often we feel small and insignificant precisely because there is a part of us that does not allow itself to be big and significant enough. On this path of self-discovery, you will discover how to integrate your shadow not to become someone else, but to become fully yourself. You can truly love and be loved in an authentic way. It is important to understand that the shadow is not only the negative aspects of your personality, it also includes your unrecognized talents and gifts. What you reject prevents that deep connection you crave. This fragmentation forces you to seek in others what you cannot accept in yourself. Every time you harshly judge someone, you are standing before a mirror. The quality that so irritates you in another person is a reflection of what you have not accepted in yourself. Pay attention to your most intense reactions. There you will find the most valuable clues. Perhaps you cannot bear vulnerability in others because you fear your own fragility, or you criticize excessive ambition because you deny your own desires for success and recognition. Your shadow also manifests in romantic attractions. We are drawn to people who freely express what we keep suppressed. If you feel an irresistible attraction to dominant personalities, ask yourself, is there a part of me that wants to express more power and authority? If you are constantly seeking partners who need saving, you are projecting your own need for care and attention. Perhaps you fear being abandoned, so you leave first before they can leave you, or you fear control, so you resist any suggestions from your partner, even reasonable ones. These patterns are not random. They are the protective mechanisms of your unintegrated shadow. Shadow integration requires courage. First, you must be willing to see it without judgment. Each time you feel a strong rejection of something in another person, ask yourself, where does this exist in me? Not to blame yourself, but to understand yourself more deeply. Integration also implies expressing suppressed aspects in a safe environment. If you have suppressed your creativity, find a space where you can freely express it. If you have denied the need for connection, allow yourself to be vulnerable with trusted people. A powerful exercise is writing a letter to your shadow, acknowledging its existence, thanking it for what it tried to give you, and sharing your intention to integrate it with compassion. This internal dialogue can be the beginning of a deep reconciliation with yourself. The wonderful paradox is that by accepting your darkest aspects, you become brighter. By accepting your imperfections, you become more authentic. And it is this authenticity that opens the doors to real connections. The deepest and most satisfying relationships arise when two people present themselves as whole, with integrated light and shadow. Attachment theory teaches us that our early connections shape patterns that repeat in adult life. If in childhood you learn that love is inconsistent, you will recreate inconsistency in your relationships, familiar though painful. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to their transformation. The true goal of romantic love is not to make you happy, although happiness can be a wonderful side effect. Its goal is to reveal aspects of yourself that would otherwise remain hidden. It is in intimacy that your deepest fears, defense mechanisms, and unexpressed desires manifest. When a conflict arises with a partner, the most valuable question is not who is right, but what this teaches me about myself. Perhaps your disproportionate irritation at a comment reveals a deep insecurity. Perhaps your need for control hides a fear of being abandoned. These discoveries are treasures for those who seek growth. Attraction is also a teacher. You are drawn to the unintegrated aspects of yourself. If you deeply admire someone's freedom, there is likely a part of you that longs to break free. If you are captivated by someone's creativity, perhaps inside you is an artist waiting for the opportunity to express themselves. Your strongest attractions are maps leading to your unrealized potential. Even romantic disappointments, though painful, are opportunities for growth and self-discovery. When a relationship ends, you have two choices. Blame the other and repeat the pattern, or ask yourself, what can I learn? The difference between these two reactions determines whether you become more bitter or more wise. Mature love does not seek perfection in another, but strives for mutual growth, where both partners are interested not only in personal happiness, but also in shared evolution. In such relationships, each challenge is seen as an opportunity for expansion. When you accept love as an instrument of growth, happiness comes more deeply and continuously. You no longer depend on ideal circumstances or the ideal partner. Satisfaction comes from the very process of evolution and deeper self-knowledge through the mirror that another person provides. Change begins when you stop repeating phrases like, I always get these kinds of partners, and start asking, why do I keep choosing these partners? This change of perspective gives you back power. You are no longer a victim of fate or the actions of others, but a conscious creator of your experience in relationships. Accepting love as a path to growth requires courage. You must be willing to see uncomfortable truths, question entrenched beliefs, and let go of identities that no longer serve you. But the reward is enormous. More authentic relationships, deeper self-knowledge, and the ability to love from a state of freedom, not need. Why do we constantly find ourselves in the same type of relationship? The answer lies in our subconscious. Repeating patterns are not random. They signal that there is something within us that requires healing. For example, if you are constantly drawn to people who make you suffer, this is a sign of attention. It means that there is a part of you that does not feel its own worth. Toxic relationships are like invisible cycles that repeat with mathematical precision in your life. You change partners, but the dynamics remain the same. This is not a curse and not bad luck. It is the result of deep programming acting from the subconscious and directing your choices without your awareness. These programs are usually formed in childhood, when you learn to understand what love is and how relationships work. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditioned on success, you probably constantly seek approval in your adult relationships. If attachment was accompanied by criticism, you may only feel comfortable in relationships with a certain level of conflict. The famous phrase familiar is confused with safe explains why we repeat harmful patterns. Your brain is programmed to seek what is familiar, even if it causes pain. The first step to breaking these patterns is developing self-awareness. Look at your relationship history as a movie. What themes are repeated? Do you always feel abandoned? Are you drawn to emotionally unavailable people? Are you prone to losing your identity in relationships? These repetitions are not coincidences. They point to contact zone rage too. If you constantly attract people who betray you, perhaps inside you lives the belief that you do not deserve loyalty. If you always find yourself in relationships where you feel controlled, you may subconsciously believe that you are not able to manage your own life. Neuroscience shows that these patterns are not only psychological, but also neurological. You have created strong neural connections through repetition, conscious awareness, and purposeful creation of new experiences that contradict habitual patterns. A powerful exercise is to identify emotional triggers, specific situations that cause disproportionate reactions. Perhaps a partner's simple lateness evokes intense fear, or a random comment about your appearance activates a deep insecurity. These tricks to shim NTM wounds. Responsibility for your patterns does not mean blaming yourself, but recognizing your role in creating and maintaining these cycles. As long as you see yourself as a victim of circumstances or other people, you will remain trapped in repetition. The power to change comes only when you accept responsibility. Breaking patterns requires restoring connection to the body relationship. To behavior, learn to recognize how attraction to what is toxic feels in your body. Intense arousal, a false sense of security, soothing familiarity towards dramatic and intense relationships. Calm and stable relationships may seem boring. When you create new neural connections, you create new ways of experiencing intimacy. Remember that breaking patterns is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. There will be moments of regression, temptations to return to the familiar. Each time you recognize a pattern and choose differently, you strengthen neuroplasticity on your side. With each new choice, you are literally Strava your brain. The ultimate goal is not perfection, but awareness, which allows you to freely choose when you are no longer in the power of unconscious programs. You can create relationships that reflect who you are now, not the wounds of your past. You can love not out of lack or compulsively, but out of fullness and freedom. Genuine love is not what you find, but what you create when you unconditionally love yourself. Love ceases to be something you seek. You are it. This understanding changes everything because until you realize this, you will continue to seek outside what can only be found inside us. We were raised with the belief that love is something external, a force that finds us if we are lucky enough. Although beautiful, this puts us in a position of passivity and dependence. We wait to be chosen, seen, loved. The true nature of love, genuine love, comes from within like a source, not as something to be extracted from another person. When you depend on external sources to experience love, you create a pattern of constant lack, like a vessel with holes that will never be filled, because love coming from the outside is always temporary and elusive. When you realize that you are the primary source of your own love experience, you do not need permission to love yourself. You do not need qualifications or credentials. Self-love is not a reward that you deserve for being good enough. It is your birthright, your natural state when you remove the barriers that you have built against yourself. The practice of unconditional self-love is revolutionary in a world that has taught you to value yourself based on productivity, appearance, or achievements. This means honoring yourself both when you fail and when you triumph. This means talking to yourself with the same calmness that you would offer to a dear friend. This means recognizing your intrinsic worth regardless of external validation. As you cultivate these loving relationships with yourself, a transformation occurs in your internal relationships. Acting from fullness, you no longer seek in others what you lack, but generously offer what you already have in abundance. The beautiful irony is that when you stop desperately needing love, you become more capable of experiencing it deeply. Your relationships become spaces of expansion, not filling. You are not looking for someone who will make you happy. You are already real. You are not waiting for someone else to heal your wounds, although you can grow together with them. This change transforms the very nature of your attractions. When you act from lack, you are drawn to people who reflect your unhealed wounds and unmet needs. There is no dependence, and attraction is not based on. The practice of self-love is not narcissism. In fact, it is the opposite of narcissism. Narcissism arises from deep insecurity, from an internal emptiness that constantly seeks filling. Genuine self-love comes from recognizing your full humanity and honoring it. It allows you to see others with greater clarity and compassion because you no longer project your unmet needs onto them. Remember that love is a key. It's an everyday practice. There will be days when loving yourself will be harder, days when old patterns of self-criticism will surface. Do not despair. Each moment of awareness is an opportunity to choose love again. Each time you reconcile with yourself after a moment of separation, you strengthen your love. The greatest paradox is that when you stop seeking love as something you lack, it was here all along, like a fish desperately searching for the ocean while swimming in it. You have been immersed in love all along. Your task is not to find it, but to recognize it, to allow it to be, to express it first towards yourself and then naturally towards everything that surrounds you. This is the secret that mystics and sages have shared through the ages. Love is not what you do, it is what you are. With these truths, every relationship, every encounter, every moment becomes an expression of that loving essence that is your deepest nature.